Welcome to the first of the SSL games casted by myself, Rise. So we're going to get right into it in about... So we're not going to get right into it because I'm going to just tell you what the SSL is. It's the Sonic TV BJ StarLeague with on-game.net, or SSL 10. It's being held from December 2014 to February 2015. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of players in it. I think there's 32 in total. Some big names, some exciting names, one of which is my idol, Firebathero. We will get to that later tonight, so make sure you're there for that. Also some fun names like Hyuk, and I think some other good ones like, what do we got? Free Jangby. Ooh, Jangby, I'm looking forward to some of his games. Haya, I'm not a huge Haya fan, and Toss Girl. That's right, Toss Girl's here too. Quanro, always fun to watch, and Zero. So some other big players, but we'll start with this group anyway and get into it. Whoa, I didn't change the volume. So I lower it a lot for myself, but again, you have to let me know if it's too quiet in the chat, and I can change it as we go. And here we go. Korean heavy metal to start. And if you can't read Korean, much like I can't, we're starting off with... Oh, I forget who this was. Oh, Movie. She just said Movie. I wish I had caught that a little bit sooner. Movie up against... Does she say it? No, she doesn't say it. Of course not, because I forget who it is, and then you gotta wait for a second. Movie versus SSak. I was like, please clue me in on it. So, let's go over some stats while we start this matchup. If we were to look in... So, we have stats here that are non-spoiler. They're stats going into the SSL. So, if we look at Movie, we can see... And we've already seen Movie play once already in the KSL cast. And I think it was a PVZ that he played. And I won't spoil that if you haven't seen it. But Movie is currently at a 59% win rate coming into this, with one of the higher just number of games in general, 140 to 97. So it's a pretty solid ratio that you can guess is consistent. Against Terran, however, where is he at? He is 60%, so he's actually on the high side for Terran. His worst matchup appears to be PvP. No, I lied, PvZ, and then PvP. But actually, no, PvP is his best. I can read charts, I swear. So let's look at Mr. SSak, and I'm sure we'll come up with some fun names to call him later. But SSak is obviously a Terran player with a 59% win rate as well. So both very consistent players with the winning records, which is always good to see. Not all the players listed here have winning records. Some are as low as 20%. Wow! Can you imagine going into a tournament like this at 20% win rate? It's like, all right, we are the bum leg horse. And if we were to look at SSak's stats up against Protoss, he has a 56% win rate. So he's actually best against Terran, and TVT is the best, which is funny. It's always interesting to see like some players excel at mirror matches and then others just terrible at it, like myself. Never good at mirror matches. And then some have specific dominating races that they play against. But in this case, I think we've got actually a pretty fair game here in terms of stats just at a glance. And it's going to be difficult to pick a favorite off of that fairly incomplete information. So I don't really know the styles of either player in this type of matchup. I've only seen each player play once. I think SSak played against a Zerg. I forget who it was now off the top of my head, but he played someone that we watched. Maybe it was Zero. But it looks like the Protoss player is going for the one base tech, which is pretty expected against a Terran matchup. And the Terran player has got his factory tech up and going. So we may see an early tank coming out, which is a very common way of deflecting any harassment coming up the stairway here. He does have a Marine in a nice spot to also deflect any Zealot harassment up until he gets that tank out. So I don't think Movie's going to be able to do much of anything. He didn't actually even hit the supply depot. He kind of just walked up to it and touched it and said, yeah, I'm not going to hurt you, and walked right back out. Proxy Pylon, Certainly not a warp-in pylon, but he might be deciding to build something up front, excuse me. And it looks like we've got range on the way for the Protoss player. First Dragoon, or maybe the second Dragoon out on the field, but he's going to try to take out the scouting SCV before doing any harassment. Second one, after all. He does get a Marine here, and he's working down the supply depot, and actually, sSak is in a little bit of trouble. I thought he was going to get a quick tank, but instead, he gets the Vulture out here. And the Dragoon, once he gets range, is going to outrange that Vulture. However, he will be able to continue to harass the SCVs that are trying to repair the supply depot. But with some decent micro, sSak shouldn't really lose anything. And he may be able to even get a free Zealot or something if he's really good with his micro, but I doubt that's going to happen. Especially as we start seeing another Dragoon or two get over here. But the tank is out, so everything is safe at this point for the Terran player. And he built that command center in his base while he was defending all that off. So he's in a good position. But the hardest part is going to be moving out down the ramp for him. If the Protoss gets a nice round off the ramp, he's going to struggle. That Vulture is picked off and unable to get any additional scouting information, so he won't see that partial proxy robo facility. The harass continues on that supply depot. It looks like the Dragoons are willing to take a few pot shots from the tank before they back right back out. The second tank is going to be a strong deterrent. Sometimes you can actually get a tank snipe or two there when you get that range. It can be tough, though. Interesting placement of the Robo Bay. He's trying to avoid any scan, so if the Terran player decides to use one scan early on, he shouldn't see it unless he just decides to go for a fairly unorthodox scan. Although I guess it's not really unorthodox. It's really a mind game, you know. Siege tech is on the way, guaranteed. We already know that there are spider mines out on the field as well for the Vultures, which will help in pushing out, but it will probably take a couple more tanks for the Terran player to actually progress on to that natural expansion. But he is going to land that CC and start transferring over. He's got enough tanks to set up a decent line to defend that, and that would be too difficult for a Protoss to attack into, especially with the turret. So even with a shuttle, you can drop a couple of Zealots on the tanks and do a lot of damage, but you're going to struggle if the turret is targeting that down quickly, especially with slow shuttle speed, because they will take 10 shots before they can drop off the 2 Zealots they've got. Yeah, his nick is pretty good, by the way. sSak. I don't think he realizes quite how good it is. Although, if there was one thing I wouldn't want to be known as personally, it's probably sSak. So, I guess there's a combination there. Shuttle's coming in with the Reaver. Reaver's going to take a big hit. Oh, he takes out the building SCV of the turret, but not before he completes the turret, just in time to push back that turret. I'm sorry, the shuttle with the turret. Shuttles looks like he's coming back in for some reinforcements. He grabbed another Zealot, I'm sure. We've got an observer out on the field as well to help deal with any spider mines that might be coming out for the Terran player. Unfortunately, the observer's spotted, so if he does get some sort of Goliath or things like that, he'll be in good condition. Reaver drops! Oh no, he took out the Reaver! Oh, I think he took it out! Yes, that's terrible for the Protoss player. Large investment in that Reaver tech, and he is not getting anything! Movie gets one tank out of that and loses almost all of his units, manages to get 2 Dragoons out of there. They're probably damaged, but most importantly, he lost that Reaver. That probably was maxed out on Scarabs as well. For what? Hull damage or vehicle plating damage on the tanks that are probably going to be repaired. So sSak is hanging pretty low here. He's looking pretty good. Just chilling in the heat, you know? He doesn't need to turtle right back up quite yet. And Movie is going to have a difficult time. Wow, you can make a movie out of the sSak guy. This is cool. Anyway, Terran player at this point is sitting in a really strong position. He's going to get another factory up and running. And I make myself laugh, by the way. I hope you don't mind. Shuttle is still out, but not threatening much, except for some Zealots, really, at this point, that he can drop on a tank line or two. But it's not going to do too much. He does have his own expansion of his own. Terran players at this point building up to his 4 factories. And he's probably considering his next expansion in the not-too-distant future. I like what he's doing in terms of D'ing up with some turrets. There's no reason to take any unnecessary risk when he's as far ahead as he is. He's going to see that robo facility in the proxy area. If he can take that out, that's very helpful. I mean, that's a sunk cost at this point now that it's been seen. Assuming the Terran can move out at all. I mean, the Protoss will really struggle to defend that based on where it is. Although it is kind of in the middle, so he might be able to get some good flanks off. But he's got some time as well before the Terran player is actually ready to move out. The SSak's got to fill up first on his mech, and before he does that, he's got to finish, building his factories and all his additions and all that fun stuff. So there's a timing here. It looks like the Protoss is trying to take advantage of that. He's expanded to the top left base, which seems to be a good decision at this point. I didn't talk about the map actually. I'm not actually sure if this is what map this is. I thought it was Fighting Spirit, but now that I look at it, I don't think it is. So someone will have to update me on what map we're watching, or I'll let you know at the end of the video or in the description of the video. Vultures running by. Obviously, vultures are nice and speedy, so they're going to be able to scout that top left base. The top left base looks like it has some sort of pylon block going down, but doesn't get it quite finished off, and at this point it looks like the vultures are going to cause maybe some havoc here on the transporting probe line. He gets one probe. Looks like he might get a second probe there if he targets correctly. He does. That Dragoon is never going to catch up. He may lose all of these probes to that single vulture. No, we do have another Dragoon in the base, and the vulture's pretty low, but he took out at least 4, if not 5 probes on that transfer, and that's going to hurt the Protoss player, as he took some heavy casualties early on, and the Terran player is taking this as an opportunity to move out. Now, keep in mind, when you transfer your probes or SCVs or what have you, you take a very big economic hit for taking out that obs. That's always good for some duration of the game. Some duration being the length of time that it takes to transfer and resaturate, because it doesn't actually resaturate instantly. Unless they actually set it to go that way. Typically, you'll see that they all go to one mineral line and then they start bouncing around. So you end up losing potentially a minute of mining, and when you're partially saturated on each base, that loss is actually a big hit. So this is actually a good timing for the Terran player to move out. He feels strong. If he can do damage here, it's going to take a little bit longer for the Protoss to reinforce. I like what he's doing, trying to get behind him with the spider mines here. Very nicely microed by Movie, though, making sure that he only loses one Dragoon, the lead Dragoon, to those spider mines. Movie's in a tough spot over here, actually. He's going to be running through the spider mine field, and he takes a big zealot spider mine to the face, basically. And the Dragoons are fairly naked here. More Zealots running in, though, at this point. Okay, so he's cleared them out, and now he's got a really nice spread on those tanks, but there is a strong amount of vultures and tanks behind this, and SSak is not letting up here. He's pushing in. Civil War, thank you for joining the pub. Thanks for hanging out tonight, and I hope you enjoy the show. We've got a lot of fun Broodwar games here tonight for those of you who are watching via YouTube. In the future, you're missing the fun, man. You got to be here next time. Tanks are moving up, and what a nice tanks position that is, getting up the ramp, and one of the pylons, one of the ramps is blocked by pylons, and he's going to stop this entire base from mining, and GG coming out from Movie. Wow. Sad face by Movie. Actually, that's SSak. I don't think that's Movie, is it? I think that's SSak. And I think that's Movie. I can't see his face. I don't know. Maybe I had it backwards. All right, well, GG, YouTube, and we'll see you in the next game. I'm going to stop recording here. All right, so we are on to the losers match, and we've got Zero versus Movie. Spoiler, but this should be after the other game, so it'd be hard for it to really be a spoiler. Unless you just tuned in which case, sorry. So anyway, we've got Movie here on the Protoss player in the top left position, going up against Zero, the Zerg player, in the bottom left. Now, historically, in the games that we've watched, and this is a slight spoiler, we've seen the Protoss typically struggle against Zerg. Not every match, maybe, but most of the time, you know, they seem to get a nice strong mid-game push going, and the Zerg either has a hidden base or a tech advantage or the tech switch advantage, which is innate to Zerg, of course, and the Protoss just isn't able to deal with it. Now, this map I know, but I can't remember the name for the life of me. 4-player map, and I think it's been an IC Cup map in the past. Hopefully it'll come to me in a bit. Actually, there's probably a map pool here that I could probably just tell you. This is Return of the King. And the last map we watched, by the way, was, it appears to have been Sin Peaks of Baked Dew. Fighting Spirit is also a map in the pool, and Blue Storm. Blue Storm is where we've seen some of the most epic matches in all of Broodwar history, with just these crazy standoffs in that giant valley of death. But we're not talking about Blue Storm at the moment. We are talking about Return of the King. So what I'll do is I'm going to show you that real quick while the action's slow. Oh, no, 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 look at that. Here it is. Hard to see. But I guess I can click directly on it and zoom in. So you can see it's a 4-player map. You got your main base. I believe this is an island base, and you have to mine out a mineral section over here if you want to actually use it. You've got a pretty large main base space, and you can build all the way down and all the way up and around. So there's room for people to drop if you don't have a nice spread of vision here. So there's something to keep in mind. Natural base over here with a craggedy rock cliff thing over here, where you can't actually siege up any tanks or anything too cheesy. It is a tri-level map. Here's the basement, the main floor, and the attic. And you know, it depends on the matchup, but these can be used to your advantage if you're Terran, of course, or trying to get a flank against a Terran player or whatever. And I guess the only other thing to think about is the third is way down here, unless you've got the tech to get your third over here. And this can be difficult to defend because your main force will be up here. You can go all the way around or across or whatever to get down to the third. And so it can be a bit of a struggle. Let's move this back over here and get back to the game. So the Protoss has decided to go for the Forge Fast Expand, which is, as we've learned, very standard in PvZ. And we've seen the fast expansion and the hidden third for the Zerg player once again, which apparently is also pretty standard. Which is funny though, because it's been standard seeming, or in our small data set we've seen this a lot, but the Protoss hasn't been scouting it very often, and you have to wonder why. So is this a recent meta shift? I doubt it. I feel like this must be something that is common. But maybe maybe they doubt they would take the risk in a tournament setting, or some other aspect that we're not considering. Either way, it's been something that has clinched games for Zergs in the past, for games that we've watched earlier in the January month. And the Protoss has just had a lot of difficulty securing beyond that natural expansion. You know, most Zergs have had a pretty good contain on them, and by the time they move out, the Zergs already got the map and maybe a fourth base. We've also seen the same build from the Protoss over and over and over, which has always been a Corsair build of some sort. Actually, that's not entirely true. Not entirely true. There was a game where the Protoss went very late Corsairs, but typically we've been seeing Citadel, Corsairs, Templar Archives, Speed Zealots, then +1, and we've been seeing the same for the Zerg as well, where they get a Spire every game to put some level of harassment in and drop some Scourges so they can take out the Corsairs nice and easily. So it's been fairly consistent in the gameplay. However, we're seeing a second starport, which is not necessarily standard. Now, it looks like the Protoss has scouted the Spire here and is going maybe overboard in the Corsair production. So we may see them sneak some DTs in early on. to synergize with that. But it's going to be hard to afford with 2 gas, and unless he gets an early base here, an early third base, which I doubt. So he's probably, and we don't even see a Citadel anyway for that matter. So he's going to focus on the Corsairs. He's going to let the Overlord actually fully scout this, and I think he would have seen both, although again we can't get a vision view. 4th hatchery is going down for the Zerg, and Corsairs really just trying to get a free scout over here, and maybe a free Overlord or 2, and he does just that. The Overlord in his base is going to die, right? And he's got some time to take that out before he goes for his next tech route. So he's going to be able to take out both of them with plenty of time to spare. In the meantime, it looks like the Zerg is threatening his front door with what appears to be Lings. And there's a small ground force for the Protoss to meet the Zerg and push them back. We have seen the Hydralisk Den being dropped down as well. So we can expect Lurker Tech out in the not-too-distant future. It's a very easy switch for the Zerg. And actually, we even see a very similar sunken build between the Hydralisk Den and the Hatchery on this map over and over and over. Now, it looks like he's not going to have that down in time, and the pressure is on from the Protoss player, but he's got enough links to get a good surround over here. But no! Actually manages to sneak that Dragoon behind the Zealots before it's too late. But this is something that I love to see, using the drones to his advantage to push up the ramp and separate from the Dragoon. But the Protoss is actually doing some decent damage against the Zerg here. He looks like he's going to take out pretty much all of those Zerglings, and he may even get another Overlord or 2. What he's really hoping for, though, is some drones. Now, he did get some mining time knocked off for the Zerg player, but he is going to lose the rest of his force here without getting anything else. One more Zealot in for, I guess, Seppuku, and that's going to be it for him. Pretty decent Corsair force to try to deal with Scourge, but I think I saw a lot of Scourge as well, so he may not be able to actually handle all of them, depending on how they manage to micro the Scourge. But he is going Overlord hunting, and he gets 2 right there. That's a big deal, actually, as this is still fairly early on in the game, and the Overlords are quite the expense. He's lost 4 now. That's a 400 mineral investment, not to mention all of the Lings that he's lost. We had some Lings go in there and try to do some harassment, but the single cannon seemed to be enough to deter them for now. The Corsairs are actually going to scout this 3rd base for the first time in a long time, and the Protoss isn't in a terrible position. However, he may lose his Corsairs if he's not careful. No, he's doing an okay job microing to spread the damage. Takes out 3 more Overlords, tries to go for the 4th, realizes he's getting a little greedy, and decides to back off at the last second there. In the meantime, Zerglings continuing to batter down that front door, or at least take damage from the cannon, one of the 2. And they're doing that very effectively. We're seeing a tech switch back into ground forces. There's the Citadel. Be curious to see if he decides, wow, he decides to go Reaver. All right, so Reavers are very strong. Oh, man. I believe with the upgrade, they may be able to one-shot Lurkers, but I don't remember for sure if that's the case. So I might be talking out of my ass. That's entirely possible, actually. Looks like the Zerg is considering getting a 4th base, and again, we're at that point in the game where traditionally the Protoss has struggled getting that 3rd base up and running. And now he's got Hydras coming up the front door. No! Big Scarab takes out a group of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Hydras at once. That was huge, and that's going to push him back very quickly. And it also opened up the door for him to get that 3rd expansion if he decides to pull out. In the meantime, it looks like the Zerg player has gotten Overlord speed to try to deal with that Corsair harassment much more effectively. And with the Overlord speed and just splitting them up, it makes Corsairs drop in effectiveness by a magnitude of 7. The 4th base is now up for the Zerg player, or being morphed in, and he's got a really nice patrol surround over here to get any vision of shuttles coming out or Corsairs or what to be ready for him. And the Protoss is forced to actually move out with ground forces. He does have speed Zealots at this point, which is going to be fairly effective against the Hydras. And if he was able to get a Templar or maybe a DT, he'd be in really good shape here. Zealots running out. They've got +1 attack on them. The Hydras also have +1 attack, and they're being dragged back into the Hydra's den. but they continue to push on. We've got the Reaver coming in for backup support, but he's a bit too far from the Hydras. And what scares me is he's got 2 Reavers, but what scares me is he only has 3 or 4 Zealots there to try to defend them. And Reavers can get out of position very quickly, very easily if you're not careful. And he almost did just there. He did manage to get what looked like maybe 3 or 4 Hydra. And here they come, dropping in the Scarabs. But Hydra's coming in from behind. Some good shuttle micro. He does lose 1, though, and trying to pick off the shuttle. They go for the shuttle. He manages to save it. More Zealots are coming in. The Reaver is still on the ground, continuing to micro it effectively. And now he may lose that first hatchery over there. And he's got to consider, does he want to leave the Reaver attacking the hatchery or save the Scarabs for the Hydra attack? Because what happens is you run out of Scarabs, and he lost it! He lost the Reaver from behind! And it looks like he almost lost the shuttle as well, and the shuttle does not appear to be carrying it. I think he lost that Reaver. So that's a huge swing in tempo here for the Zerg player. But Zealots are in his base, and drones are fighting. Lurkers are being morphed at this point, but I would imagine we'll see an observer down here soon. And he doesn't have much to defend this with. It looks like he's continuing to try to stream units in from his other bases and pump out as much as he can. But he may lose his Spire here as well, which if he loses a Spire, that'll make the Corsairs a lot more effective. And he is going to lose it. And he's got a DT on the 4th base, so the Protoss player may actually pull this one out. Movie's doing a fantastic job here. Spatula Monkey, thank you for joining the pub, and your name is awesome. Hope you enjoy your stay here, and hope you're enjoying the Broodwar games tonight. The Zealots are continuing to take out critical buildings, now focusing on the spawning pool. They decide to back out at the last second, and he snuck a DT in the back door to take out some drones. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, full clear, and now he's going to lose his spawning pool. That's huge. Now keep in mind, there is no notification when a DT is attacking drones because it one-shots them. Something a little bit different in Broodwar than I believe any of the StarCraft 2 games expansion or otherwise. I think they changed that. So, I mean, it was common to watch pro players, if they weren't watching their supply count pretty regularly, they would get caught off guard by that and find themselves in deep trouble. And at this point, we've got the 3rd base finally for the Protoss. Finally, it looks like it's actually been up and running for a while, so I missed that earlier. And the Protoss is in a very strong position. He's going after the last effectively mining base here at the 3rd, and there's not even a sunken colony to defend this. Zealots are having free reign and taking out drones. 2 go down. Now he's going up on the Hydras, but the drones haven't been mining, and again, the Zerg player is just behind. The shuttle is back. Now the shuttle is damaged, so he's got to be very careful here. Storm is now out on the field, so he's made the tech switch, and he catches a lot of Hydras in there and pops at least 3 of them. It looks like he's going to lose that Templar now. But no, he gets another storm and takes out another couple and damages the rest. So the Zerg position is very, very poor at this point. 2 more Reavers out on the field. Hopefully he's got a fresh shuttle that's got more than 3 health to continue to do damage here. He is back to mining at his main base and his natural, but there's been a heavy investment in drones. He hasn't been able to spend that larva in Hydras, and he's really relying on his Lurkers at this point to defend, and he's struggling. It looks like he may take out no, he doesn't get that last drone that he was attacking over there. Looks like our shuttle is back, Storm is back, and he storms on the Lurkers actually. They take 2 storms to take out a Lurker, so he may be back in the not too distant future to try to deal with that as well. Back home, he's got a very nice force to defend. And again, those Reavers are going to stop pretty much anything unless he manages to get a really nice snipe on him, which he's not going to. +2 weapon upgrade is now completed for the Zerg. It's probably been completed for a bit, but I'm just noticing now. Not sure what we're at for the Protoss player, but I would guess he's at +2 himself, which is now a very strong position to be in against the Zerg. If they click on him, I'll tell you. Now the Protoss is pushing in for what could be the final death push here. The mini death ball for the Protoss is coming in. A lot of yellow coming across the map. We've got a couple of lurkers, but we have multiple observers. We've got Templar, we've got Reavers, and this is incredibly difficult for the Zerg to deal with. As, yeah, it looks like the Reavers are taking him out in one scatter. Beautiful storm, and this is GG for Zero. He's going to go 0-2 here, and that's unfortunate for him. Looks like Movie's going to take this match, and very well done to him. That was some stellar play. And again, one of the first Protoss wins that we've seen this year in the games that we've casted. So well done by Movie, well played. A well-engineered game. I mean, really, he had some strong tech switches there that I believe threw the Zerg player off. The lurkers were very ineffective. And really, you know, the hidden base is great as long as it stays hidden. Once it gets discovered, that spread makes it difficult to defend either, as essentially your forces or your production locations are split, and it takes a long time for you to try to defend either position, and that's exactly what we saw happen this game. So GG. All right, here we go, guys. We have the one, the only, my hero, your hero, and Firebathero in this game. And I don't know if you're excited, but I am incredibly excited. We've got Firebathero going up against this guy who I didn't even check his name because I was so excited it was Firebathero. Mini, not Mini-Me, just Mini. And there he is. There's the man, the legend himself, Firebathero. Oh my God, he's so handsome. Do you see that hair? Do you see that nonchalant, I'm going to destroy this guy attitude? I love it. His attitude is aged with him. It's just like a fine wine. Just needs some cheese to go with it. Like literally in the game, he'd probably need some cheese because he's terrible against Protoss. But anyway, we are watching a TVP. Looking at some stats real quick before we talk any more about how awesome Firebathero is. Let's take a look at what we've got here. So Firebathero doesn't actually have any stats logged into TL going into this, at least not through any tournaments that I'm aware of. So he may be playing, but I have no information on him. So I don't know how he's been playing lately, if he's been great, if he's been terrible. Mini, on the other end, has a pretty respectable win rate, especially against Terran. He's 59%, 20-14. And overall, a 51% win rate is also fairly solid. So keep in mind, Firebathero's worst matchup has always been Protoss. If you don't remember, Much was like his nemesis. Much was the guy that made the cannon heart against Firebathero after Firebathero had done many things against Much and other guys. So he probably deserved it a little bit, but you got to admit it was sad. It was pretty unfortunate. So we'll have to see if he's able to pick it up this game. If he's been able to improve that gameplay at all. To begin with, he's taking some pretty solid harassment from the Protoss player. Able to take one SEV off building that barracks, and he's got the assimilator to throw off his gas build. So something just beeps. Was that me? It sounds like it was them. Hopefully everything's still working okay. Hey, Johnny Chimpo! Did I already say hello to you? I might have. I did. Welcome back again. You've got this to drink for that. Or this to thank for that. He almost gets that SCV with that probe. He does! He gets it! Firebat loses that first SCV, and he may already be on tilt after that. I know I would be. And there is another damaged SCV in there, but the Marine is out, so he's... Oh! Oh, I thought he attacked his own SCV. No, he didn't. He was attacking the assimilator. He is able to deflect that probe for the time being, but we have a Zealot on the way to try to do some more harassment in the base of Firebathero. And it's a fairly low econ looking game so far for the Protoss. Well, it's just early, so that's bound to happen. The assimilator is going to go down, but Firebathero is not going to be able to make any medics or develop stim until that happens. Zealot and Probe are continuing to harass in the meantime, working down that supply depot. It's going to take them a little bit of time to do so. And some SCVs are pulled off again to deal with this. So we're continuing to lose mining time here for Firebathero. And really, outside of the scouting probe, no mining time has been lost for the Protoss player. He's continuing to produce Zealots at this point. And we'll have to see if he decides to continue to push in on the harass. We've got 4 Marines out at this point. They're able to push back the Zealots temporarily. We do see the Nexus going down for the Protoss. Again, Protoss typically want to stay 1 base ahead of a Terran, and at this point he is doing exactly that. We haven't seen even the beginnings of an expansion for Firebathero. At this point he is just building up his forces. Actually, that might be a command center right there. It is indeed. So he's not too far behind in trying to keep up with or exceeding the number of expansions of the Protoss player. 6 Marines out on the map. We are starting to see the Protoss finally go into some level of tech. Most of the games that we've watched so far for the PVT has been Cybernetics Core first before any expansions, and then range, where the Dragoons are able to get some harassment in on the Terran before they're able to get factories out and siege tanks. But we're not seeing that. Oh, all right, we are now. We haven't seen a factory yet. Instead, Firebathero has invested heavily in early Marines, which, I mean, I understand why, but there was only 3 Zealots produced by the Protoss players, so he's gotten Firebathero to maybe overreact a little bit to this now with what looks to be 9 Marines out on the map. He is able to get this expansion completed and move out with this at this point. There are only 4 Zealots out on the map, so not super high pressure, but enough to warrant some level of micro from Firebathero if he decides to push in. A 5th Zealot actually coming, so I take that back. The Protoss has invested heavily enough to warrant the number of Marines that we're seeing from Firebathero. However, I'm not sure he'll be able to take anything out necessarily with that force, but we haven't seen a bunker being made for Firebathero, and if he gets that 6th one down, he actually will be able to deal with this very easily, and Firebathero is forced to retreat behind some SCVs, so the pressure is still on him at this point. It looks like he's building a bunker, I would imagine. It's possible. Yeah, it is a bunker. Possible it's a supply depot. But really, Firebathero is in some trouble over here. He's not microing at all, or barely, and not really doing a very good job of it, as his Marines are ineffective at best. And now we have Zealots in his main base. The factory should be done, so we should see some Vultures out soon. But 3 Zealots in your base is nothing to scoff at. He's got to deal with this somehow. He pulls the Marines back out, but he overextends and loses 2 of them! No, Firebat, what are you doing? No, this is terrible. This is not what I wanted. I wanted you to win and destroy and do a dance in this guy's face at the end of the game. But instead, the Protoss is finding himself in an incredible position against Firebat. And I don't think Firebat can come back from this. The question is, what is he making in that factory? Oh man, he's got 3 Dragoons to add to this. A very good surround on the bunker. He's got 6 SCVs trying to repair this. It looks like they're enough to repair. There's only 3 Marines in there, so they're actually going to slowly take out the attacking forces here. The tank is here. He's able to deter that, but he lost a lot of minerals in repairing that. He lost 3 SCVs that were trying to repair it. And in the meantime, we have an unharassed Protoss building a robotics facility here and probably developing Reavers shortly. So again, the pressure is on Firebat to not only respond, but to somehow chip back at this game into some level of an advantage. And now there are 5 Dragoons forcing their way down this bunker, and they take it out! They take it out, they may even snipe one of the tanks. No, they don't. This tank is able to siege up, and they're able to take out one of the Dragoons, but the Dragoons could probably get behind the mineral lines if they decided to try to do so. And Firebathero is still feeling the pressure here from the Protoss player. In the meantime, Protoss has gotten his 3rd base almost completed here, and has seen 0 scouting since the original, outside of maybe a scan, but nothing on the ground has been able to leave the natural expansion for Firebathero. So definitely he's still struggling with his TVP here for sure. Vultures are now out. He's researching multiple things here. Clearly it is Vulture speed and spider mines, so the tanks obviously have siege done already. So if he can start getting a decent amount of Vultures and get some lucky spider mines, might be okay. That's probably the best way for him to get back in this game, is a miracle mine that takes out like 17 probes at once. But let's be honest, it's not looking good. He is going for the runaround, but there's actually no Dragoons guarding the front anyway. And instead, he's going to be intercepted at the runaround. So really, Protoss is reading his every move here. And he's only got 4 vultures going out for the harass. He's not going to be able to do much, especially with the pylon being dropped there. I don't think a vulture can squeeze through there. And I'm not even sure if he's scouted that with a scan or not. Dropping some mines, which is great. He's going to have to back off here, and this may be microable with the amount of Dragoons that Protoss has. More mines going down, but we know there's a robo facility, so there's probably already an observer out somewhere on the map. I just haven't seen it yet myself. And Corsair, oh man, Stargate's coming down. I was going to say Corsairs, but I'm thinking it's going to be Scouts. I would not be surprised if it was Scouts. I can't believe I'm saying that. Vultures trying to squeeze up through the pylons, realizing they're not going to get very far over there, and I mean, just impenetrable defense from the Protoss player with that. It looks like we're building a starport here for Firebathero. Not sure what he's planning on doing there. Spider Mine's in the back to defend against any Reaver drops potentially, and a Goliath, which is smart, but it's not really going to do him much good because we're not seeing any drop play. He's going carriers. He's going carriers against them. No. No, this is terrible. Firebathero is going to be humiliated. Don't do it. Don't do it. Let him win. Let him win. And then dance around you. There is a shuttle out there, but I don't expect the shuttle to be for anything other than Zealot drops on for tanks. I haven't seen a Reaver pop out of the Robo facility, so it's unlikely that he's gone to that tech, and it's a very heavy investment when he's considering doing something like carriers. He waited for the fleet beacon. It's guaranteed to be carriers. It could have been Scouts. It couldn't be Arbiters because I haven't seen an Arbiter Tribunal. Terrible. Terrible! It's carriers! He's gonna get carriered! And I don't think there's anything that he can do about it. He has a science facility coming out. Even with the science facility, he barely has any Goliaths to deal with this. He didn't even have enough scan to take out the observer. What happened right there? I don't know what he did. Anyway, Protoss is a minimal ground army, but enough to deter Firebat from moving out. And Firebat knows he's behind. I think he scanned and saw that there was a fleet beacon warping in. I'm not sure if he clicked it or not, or whatever it may have been. But really, there's 3 bases for the Protoss. He's probably looking into the 4th in the top left at this point. There's something moving around up there. He's dropping some pylons down, so I'm sure that'll be happening soon. And at this point, he's just going to put the pressure back on. He does get a couple observers for free, or for the cost of a turret anyway. But that's it. Now, if the carriers come out too slow and he gets a critical number of Goliaths, he can come back. Oh, that is a lot of Zealots. That's a lot of Zealots. I don't know. I don't think it's possible, Firebathero. What are you going to do? How can you come back into this game? You need something to deal with the carriers. You've got Goliaths, but it's not enough. That barracks, I don't know what you're doing with this barracks. You're just trying to push out to gain some sort of terrain advantage, it looks like. He's got a lot of tanks, but again, there's a lot of Zealots. A lot of Zealots and not enough Goliaths to deal with this. Now, the upgrades are... Did he have +1 upgrade, it looked like, for the vehicles? I think so. And Protoss upgrades, I'm not sure what those are. I'm really not sure it matters because it's just the production is very strong for the Protoss. He's got like 10 gates, and there's the first 2 carriers coming out, making their interceptors. A 3rd one on the way. I'm not sure if he'll get a 4th before he has to start using them. But he is going... Ooh, he does take out another observer. That's good. But he is going to have to commit to a fight here very soon, and the carriers haven't moved yet. But the ground army is strong on its own, and I haven't seen many vultures here to deal with the Zealots. It's just tank Goliath. And there's two vultures. Unless you've got like 8 or 12 or 100, you're going to struggle dealing with the Zealots. The Goliaths can take them out when there's a lot of Goliaths. They do decent damage against Zealots, but that's a lot of Zealots. And the Spider Mines may end up getting dragged into the tank line, which would be very unfortunate. So 3rd and 4th carriers are on the way. It looks like they're also going to be joining the battle here very shortly. There they are. There's 2. And they're going in against vultures. Now, pretty good surround on the Goliaths there to take out maybe an interceptor or 2. Tanks are sieged and in position. But here we go. Here comes a very solid concave, and oh my goodness. He's just being outclassed in army values here. It's like 3-1, and there's nothing Firebat can do against this. There's too many Dragoons for the Goliaths to do anything against the carriers or the Zealots, and I think this is it already for Firebat. His first game back, his return is not looking too stellar. It's unfortunate he had to go against Protoss, and I think the Protoss player has got this. He's pushing in on the natural base at this point, and Firebat is just hiding behind a command center with 4 Goliaths, and he may get 1 carrier, but it's not going to matter. No, he's not even going to get that single carrier, and we've got 2 more on the way. And a 4th base is now up and running for Protoss. So Mini is not looking so mini anymore. And GG coming from Firebat Hero. No! Mini! How dare you! They didn't even show him at the end! I'm so upset, guys. Oh, I was so looking forward to that match. It was terrible. Oh, I have to stop recording. I don't even want to talk anymore about that game. GG.